Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello, Jose.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're at the end.
We are at the end. It's about time.
Yeah.
So
It's been a long time.
yes, it's
I
time
feel like
to,
we've been talking about Love is Blind for like, I don't know how many months.
it's time to sit or get off the pot or whatever the saying is. In this analogy, the sit down is the wedding part. But anyways, yeah, so we're at the weddings, right? It's the last one, episode 10.
Left us with a cliffhanger.
Yes, which, I hate. I really do. I get that if you do that on network television because you have to wait week for week. But if you're doing it on something that you could binge watch, what's the point? You're going to keep on watching it.
That's true. I didn't really think about it in that way.
Unless they plan on farming it out to like another network or something. I don't understand
Maybe they
why.
want people at the end of the episode to be like, ooh, like, that heightened sense of
Well, they
whatever.
do, but that's what I'm saying. Like Netflix has found out that they, the model that they have where you can binge watch it. Now the problem is they don't have enough content.
Yeah.
So they're
We
constantly
want more.
yeah. So what do? They put cliffhangers, which makes them want to keep on binge watching it. So
Who shot JR? Oh, wait, that was the end.
either way, it's like if you want us to keep on seeing it all the way through, then we can do that. But I'm just saying it's unnecessary. But anyways, well, it's harder on me because remember I was watching these episodes,
Yes.
before we did the recording or whatever.
Yeah.
So
So you did have to wait.
I did, and it used to tick me off because I was like, ah. And because we weren't doing it week to week, I had to just figure out when I was gonna watch it again.
You know, like those shows where they have, it's almost like a cliffhanger after every show. Remember we were watching Bosch? Jose and I used to watch the TV show Bosch, and it was kind of the same thing. So what I would do is when I was watching multiple episodes and it was getting late and I'm looking at the clock, I'm like, okay, I got to go to bed soon, right? I would like watch halfway through one episode because I know it's like, okay, I can stop it here, but I can't wait till the end because then you're going to have that
They have cliffhangers, yeah.
Exactly. And then it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, I need to
Honestly, I've done that before too. I thought that was just my strategy.
Oh, no.
But then the only other problem with that is that when I do watch it again, I have to start it from the beginning.
Oh.
Because if I don't remember, let's say there's a long period between when I watched it. So if it's been like 2 weeks, and then I know I cut it off midway, I'm like, what happened?
Why would you wait 2 weeks?
I'm just saying things happen. I don't know. Life, maybe, I don't know. I'm out and about for whatever reason.
But you don't think you would start it back up
Listen,
and then it would jog your memory?
the best thing in the world was COVID. For binge watching, anyways. If you wanted to binge watch, COVID was the time to do it. It was amazing time. Like you just sat there and there was nothing else to do. Just order DoorDash and watch TV. Oh, I miss those days so much. But what were you gonna say? Yeah, sometimes it does jar it. But like if you get into it like mid conversation, it's like, what are they talking about? Are they referencing or is this something new? Which is again why I'll start it from the beginning and then watch it all the way through.
Then why not just stop it then? Is it because the cliffhanger is so big you can't just because you're having to rewatch it again anyway?
Yeah, because now I'm trying to fall asleep in that situation. If I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm thinking about the cliffhanger, and then I'm like, oh, what happened? Like now I need to know what happened. So I don't want to do that. So midway is easier.
Yeah.
Because I know I just need to, let's say, rewind it 20 minutes or whatever, 10 minutes. I'm fine. It'll be.
Yeah. Well, I usually don't have to wait 2 weeks before I pick it back up again, but it'd be like the next night or whatever. But yeah, I stop in the middle. I'm like, okay, I know there's not going to be a cliffhanger in the middle.
These are tips and psychological hacks for people that like to watch television. I swear other people do it. There's no way other people have figured out how to do this.
Write in and let us know. Do you stop in the middle of the episode?
Or did you see it all the way through? Because I've done that before too.
Oh, me too. And it's like 8 a.m. and you watch TV all night.
I've done that. And then I've also done it where, let's say I'm on the couch and I start falling asleep. I'm getting drowsy, but I don't want to stop it. So then I fall asleep. And then when I wake up again, like it's already gone like 2 or 3 episodes. I'm like, dang it, I missed it all. So now I got to go.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is when you wake up, you're seeing something and you have no reference because you were asleep for however long you were asleep. Oh, yeah. These are obviously first world problems.
Right. Other people have real problems. They're like, can you guys
like water
please?
and food, And our problem is we don't get to binge watch everything that we want to watch. But yeah, I mean, that's okay though. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But anywho, yes. So there's a cliffhanger between Nick and Danielle, and they ask Nick if you take this woman to be your bride or whatever, and it just pauses. Obviously, he says yes.
What did you think he was gonna say?
I think he was going to say yes. It's been very clear that Nick is head over heels over her, and just watching their interaction and all the stuff. And again, it's the editing. But everything that he's had to do to kind of prove his love for her, I'm like, yeah, he's not going to put in all of that effort just to say I'm out, or at least I don't think he will. But no, he said yes.
Yeah,
they're together. Yay! And then then it switches over to Shake and Dipty's wedding.
Yeah.
Now let me just say, right? Obviously, they're both Indian, right? Those weddings look fun.
I thought the same thing. I was like, dang, man, they know how to party.
Yes. And I'll say this. Her wedding dress and the way she looked was
beautiful.
just absolutely beautiful. Like
it makes you want to wear that, but you can't because it's like cultural appropriation. But like she looked amazing. The gown was beautiful.
The gown, just the accessories, I don't know what
the bindi, and then
that thing. I'm not sure what it was, but it's a decorative. It looked like
a headpiece.
Yeah. I mean, everything, everything, and even the guys, the suits that they wear. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, and I apologize for that, but they're sharp. They're sharp. I mean, Dipty's dad was looking sharp. He walked in there just looking smooth. He's a little guy, but he was looking pretty smooth. I was like, all right. They were all dressed in gold.
Yeah.
It was, and even.
They came down when they were all, hey, hey.
Everybody was dancing and stuff. Like it looked like the whole reception was just there. And
I think it was all his side because like the seats on her side were filled. His were empty. I think it was everyone on Shake's.
I thought it was everybody.
No.
Really? I didn't catch that. When I looked at it, I just thought it was the entire whoever was attending.
I think it's just because his side was totally empty and her side was full.
Yeah.
So that's a tradition, I guess.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I feel bad because I don't know if that actually is a tradition or like what the rules are.
I'm sure it is.
Around that. All right.
But yeah, it was cool. It was like
it was pretty awesome.
I've never been to an Indian wedding before.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I haven't either. And with all the weddings, whether it's this one or the other ones that we're going to discuss, there's always that nervous energy.
Yeah.
That goes
yeah. It's the final moment. It's the final countdown.
Yes, it is. It's time to, again, sit or get off the pot, right? One or the other. And so, there's a lot of nervous energy. I remember when I was married, when I took the plunge, I was nervous. Not because I had any doubt or anything like that. It was just a big day in my life. And I was, what was I, 24? Yeah, I was 24 when we got married.
Oh, you're a wee one.
Yeah. and mind you, I don't get nervous very often. I mean, now I'm 46. It's very rare that I get nervous. I might get excited about things, but I don't get nervous.
Yeah.
And some things bring me anxiety, but for the most part, it's weird, but I'm not always aware that I'm anxious about something. It's just like my heartbeat and stuff will go up, but I feel perfectly calm. And of course, everybody was sweating. I think he was sweating a little bit too, right? So when Shake went out there with the entire whatever, and then they sat down, it was cool. And then after that, Dipty shows up and she's walking down like glowing. I mean, and don't get me wrong, all the brides looked very pretty and beautiful, but there was just something special about her, just a little bit more. I don't want to compare, but there was just something about the way she looked that it just, I don't know. And then maybe that's what it's intended. Maybe I
don't know. Like her, like ensemble was more of like this. It was a presentation. The other ones, it was just like the gown. You know what I mean? Like it just a little too much. But Dipty was just this the whole package. Beautiful.
They know how to do weddings, man. That's for sure. So if I could, that's what I'm saying. Like you said. If I could do an Indian wedding, I'd do that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Mexican weddings, they do good too. But it's usually a lot of alcohol. I mean, maybe that's part. I mean, like I said, it looks magnificent.
Yeah.
I've only seen it. So I've seen a movie called The Best Marigold Hotel. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about.
They made two. In the second one, there's a wedding. And so one of the things, at least in the movie, mind you, because they were getting married in India, they do it like a dance routine. So the husband and wife, they do a dance routine, kind of like the Bollywood thing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So they do that, and it's all part of the celebration, which to me just makes complete sense, right? Because that's what
Right.
you're. It's a celebration.
Yeah.
I would imagine you would also get rid of some of that nervous energy by dancing. Maybe that's what the other intention was.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, let's get it out,
And
right?
sometimes the wedding part, like a traditional wedding, can be pretty boring. It's
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. No, no,
I'm
no.
like, can we
They
hurry up?
are.
And, like,
They are like, hurry up. Yes, you
we want
love
to go
each
to the
other.
reception.
Say I do. Let's do this. Yeah. So I went to a wedding recently, and when I say recently, it's been about a month. And yeah, so the guy is very confident in everything, but I could tell during the wedding day that he was a bit nervous and he had a
Yeah.
little bit of nervous energy about him. But under normal circumstances, he's very confident. You know, he doesn't get rattled very easy. But
That's understandable. Like I said, it is a big
it's a
day.
big.
There's a lot of,
But here's the thing, and I don't know why. Again, I didn't have this conversation right when I got married. It wasn't. It was the furthest thing from my mind. But it seems like both the male and the females, or the whether it's Dipti and Shake or Shane and Natalie or whatever, they seem to be contemplating whether or not they want to even go through with it.
yeah.
It's like they're whatever the last minute reservations or trepidations that they have. That's what they're talking about. They're
Right.
vocalizing it. I didn't have that. Now I wonder. I don't know if now she's my ex-wife. I don't know if she was having the same, trepidation. Like, do I really want to do this? I don't know. I think because she was younger, right? So I was 24. I think she was either 21 or 22 at the time when we got married. Obviously, these guys are a little older. I
Yeah.
can't remember what their ages are, but
I
they're in
think
their
they're
30s.
like low 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's what it is. They just can't get out of their head and they're just thinking about it. But, again, Shake is still kind of going through that with his friends and he's talking and whatnot. And she kind of is too, whatever. So they get up to the altar and they start going through the motions, right? This is what and I don't know if this is a thing because I don't remember if I did it, but they sometimes have like a little speech. It's not the vows, right? It's more of like they just say something.
It's almost like when they write
before.
their own vows. Like they usually, because the last wedding I went to, I think they wrote their own vows, but they still did after that the traditional vows, like where the pastor says and you repeat and that all
But
thing.
see, that's what I'm saying. They're not saying vows.
No, I know, but I'm sure the show is like you have to say some things.
Yeah.
Like you
Well, that's
can't
what I'm
just be
saying.
like, nope.
I wonder
bye."
if that's just something new. If that's a nuance in today's culture that they give these little mini speeches before, because that those whatever they're saying, they're just expressing their feelings.
Right.
They hadn't got to the vows
Right.
yet.
They're
Actually,
just
they don't really
declaring
even
how they
have-
feel.
Kind of. Well, yes. They kind of almost, they're declaring and they're kind of just expressing how they got to this point, how they're feeling, whatever, because obviously they ask Dipti, whether or not she wants to, whatever, marry Shake. And she goes through this little speech and then she says no.
I think I started laughing because I was so proud of Dipti.
Well, she says, and I quote, "I choose myself."
Yes.
Which is actually right? Because she
Yes.
doesn't choose you. I'm gonna choose myself, and I'm gonna walk away.
I would have been disappointed in Dipti if she said yes. Like I really would have been like, "Girl, what are you talking about?"
It was a. And again, I'm trying not to be hard on Shake, right? Because don't get me wrong, he does a lot of things that I think are inappropriate, and maybe the way he's delivering things are very inappropriate. But I don't know. I still kind of felt a little bad for the guy, slightly.
Yeah,
Slightly.
it's a little embarrassing. And he did the thing that I feel like a lot of women have experienced this, like in the club, like when a guy tries to dance with you and you say no thank you, he said, well, I don't want to dance with you anyway, because his Shake immediately
Yeah,
went to hey, it's a party,
Yeah,
it's all
it's a-
good, I was gonna say no anyway.
Yes.
Like, okay,
It was awkward. He was
Yes.
trying to.
he made it
change
even
up.
more
He did.
awkward by trying to
He
pretend.
did. He did.
He's like, I
Because-
got reservations for somewhere on Sunday night or whatever, and I was
Well,
like,
I don't have to go to work till Monday or whatever.
party,
Whatever
yeah,
silly
like,
thing
okay.
he said. Yeah, and see that I think, but that says a lot of how he handles things.
Yeah.
Right. because there's many, then there's not a right way or a wrong way to handle that situation. Because I was going to actually ask you, what is protocol, right? And we can get into that because, but I don't know what protocol is. I know I wouldn't have handled it that way. There has to be. I think again, everybody handles it differently, and for me, I would just I would want to do it a little classier, if you will. But he was just like, "Hey, let's have a party. It's okay." And even then, when they were interviewing him, he was just like, "Well, truth be told, I had reservations about it
Yeah.
too," which again just seems very.
I didn't want
Look,
to dance with
dude,
you anyway.
they left you at the altar. Sorry. Now, here's the thing, and this is the aspect with all of whenever it happens, right? I don't know how like the parents are supposed to feel about that.
Shake's parents or Dipty's parents?
Any parent, because they came there for a wedding and now it's not
I
happening.
know, but you have to think about in this experiment. So, like, Dipty's mother was obviously very proud of her daughter,
Yeah.
right? But, well, I guess Shake's mom was kind of more on Dipty's side, so maybe that'd be. But I think that the person who was jilted or whatever, their parents probably are mad at the person because it's
Well,
like, well,
yeah.
you know,
Well, and then that's the other question that I want to know, but I don't want to know is whether or not the parents knew, right? Because did Dipti make that decision right at that moment? Or did she already know going into it that that's what she was going to say and like talk to her
I
mom
think
about
she
it?
already knew, and here's why: because even before they went down the aisle, she seemed very happy. Like she knew she was gonna burn
It
that
had
fool.
nothing to do with her wedding
Yeah,
day.
I think she knew. She was like, I'm gonna burn them good, and I'm gonna tell everybody my truth.
I hope not. I
I don't
hope that's
know.
not
She
the
seemed
case.
really happy.
I mean, she did seem very happy,
She did.
but I don't, and yeah, because yeah,
I'm not mad at her. I get
I'm
it.
not. I'm not either. Again, I would have married her. It's just I was like, hey, somebody's getting married. I didn't come here for nothing. But no, I mean, you never know. And obviously, I think, and I don't know her that well, but just my observation, seems like she made the right choice.
Yes, she did.
You never know. Shay could have been a fantastic husband, and maybe he will make a fantastic husband someday. Who knows? I don't know.
And I don't remember exactly what she said, but she said something to the effect of Shake never made me feel like I was like his person or whatever she said. Basically, he never made her feel like that.
Yeah.
He was just like, you're my best friend. You remind me of my aunt. Like there wasn't really anything. He wasn't
I don't
putting
think he
her
told her he found it.
on the pedestal that she should have been.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard being on a pedestal, though.
I know, but I'm just saying, in this experiment's a short amount of time. It's not that hard to put him on a pedestal for 3 weeks. Like, get him on up there. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. It's not. But ironically enough, and I started reading a book, just completely, totally different, or listening to a book. But
Yeah, Jose, you don't read.
that's right. I
But
don't read, but I'll listen to the heck out of a book. I'll tell you that right there, and I'll re-listen to it if I really like it. But "Love in the Time of Cholera," I heard that book is very, it's about romance and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, anyways, as soon as I'm interested to see that. But when you said the pedestal thing, because I've heard that it's very lopsided in that tale of he puts her up in a pedestal. That's hard. It's very hard to put somebody up in a pedestal
yeah.
because
Well, maybe the pedestal isn't the right word, but I just
it's special and
throughout the show, I
the only
didn't
one for
really
sure.
see him really being
They
that.
went out to sushi in the last episode. Does that not count? What else do you want? Jeez.
Well, that was
It's
some
never
bad
good
advice
enough.
from Shane that he was trying to play out. But yeah, I don't think he ever really made her feel like I am about you and I am 100. I'm excited to
Look,
marry
he's
you.
not Sal singing with a little ukulele and
Yeah.
making songs up and, cooking dinner and stuff. I'll give you that. He's not that. But I don't know, people show their affection differently. And so, but you're right. I mean, it was nothing, at least the way that was edited, that showed any indication that he was doing anything extra to try to win her
Right.
over. He just kind of felt like, yeah. If anything, he just kept on complaining that he wasn't sure if he wanted to get married.
Yeah,
with
that's
her or
all he
not.
did, it seems like, was just complain about why she's not the one to everybody.
But you know what? She got all dressed up. She looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess for the next guy, the right guy, he knows what to expect there.
Yeah.
But anyways, so then we move over to Shane and Natalie. And right off the bat, I think they start talking about the fact that they had a fight the night before.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost like between the bachelor party and I guess he had the bachelor party the night
Yeah, that
before.
was the night before.
Okay.
Because I had a theory about, so last time we had talked about them playing baseball
Yeah.
and how Shane couldn't hit the ball and everything. And he was really, really upset, almost too upset about that. But that was the night that they had this fight.
Yeah.
And he had been drinking. And I'm just thinking, like, is the fact that he was so embarrassed by that kind of fueled him already? He was already.
He was hot.
Yeah.
He was obviously whatever he said affected Natalie in all kinds of ways
Yeah.
because she was not feeling it.
Yeah.
And God only knows what kind of it's never a good idea to argue when you're drunk.
Yes. We have told you before.
But in the way, because I think the way that she described it, she said something along the lines of, it's something she said that triggered him, and after that he lost it. Now again, mind you, there's two sides to every story, so
Right.
we don't know, right? But I do know that right before the night before, it's there's a lot of things going through your mind.
Right.
And I don't know if on the show they did all the preparations, but that's usually, I can tell you when I was getting married, I probably didn't help out as much as I should have, right? Because it was out of state, so I really couldn't. But there was a lot of things that go on within weddings that you worry
Right.
about, the cake or the wedding dress, the bridesmaids, is everybody seated? Do we have enough? Did we get the right this? Did we get, I mean, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And most of the time it's unfortunately put on the bride. But nevertheless, there's a lot, not the least of which you're also thinking about, because they're all doing the same thing. It's like, it's forever.
Yeah.
It's forever. It's forever, which is really the way they should be thinking about it, right? I'm not saying that they shouldn't be thinking that way, but I think they're overwhelming themselves
Yeah.
when they keep on saying it's forever. It's forever. It's forever. Yeah, we get it. Stop saying it's forever. But yeah. But anyways, so everybody's there. Natalie's parents are there. Shane's mom is there. I think his brothers or whatever, getting dressed. So the wedding itself is pretty straightforward, right? So as far as the ceremony, they're going down there. It's really
It's
cool.
boring.
I mean, it's
Compared to Shake and Dip Teas.
yeah, they started out like
Yeah.
it's hard to follow that act, right? But so they get in there and stuff, and same situation. It goes, okay, do you take this person to be your husband or whatever? And they ask Natalie first, and then so Natalie goes in this speech again about how much she loves and cares for him, and then turns around and says, "Nope, I cannot."
Yeah.
And then I looked at Shane's face, and I'm just like, almost immediately I started thinking to myself, he's going to have all kinds of psychological trauma on this.
Yeah.
I really did honestly feel bad for him.
It looked like, I don't know why I felt this, but it looked like he immediately was about to go into defense mode, like ready to turn it on her. It just felt like that, which we saw that afterwards. They kind of go and talk to each other.
Yeah.
And it kind of seemed like he was trying to pivot.
It does. Here's the thing about Shane. When he gets uncomfortable, as an observation, his eyes go like this. Like whenever he's upset, he's like, what are you looking at, Shane? What's wrong? Because like his eyes just, I've never seen anything like it before. But every time he's nervous or he doesn't, he just.
If you guys could see Jose right now, I mean,
and his eyes widen, and then he looks away almost immediately, typically down.
Yeah.
And he does this every single time that he hears something that he doesn't like, or he has nervous energy, or he's uncomfortable. And that's the other part. Shane seems to get uncomfortable really, really fast.
Yeah.
Really, really easy.
Do you think it's because, I don't know what his life is, but do you think that he has it maybe too easy in his life where he still hasn't figured out how to cope with conflict? Because like you said, I mean, he's a good looking guy. He's in real estate. Like he's probably successful. You know what I mean? He has all these things that it probably doesn't happen very often where he gets rejected or.
Yeah. Well, the rejection, he struggles with that quite a bit.
Yeah.
No, it's different, right? And I don't like to compare people. I really don't. But just as an observation, for instance, right? Sal, when he gets in uncomfortable situations, he doesn't freak out.
Yeah.
He gets upset, don't get me wrong, but he seems to be able to stay calm, cool, and
Yes.
collective.
Very
Right?
calm.
He doesn't freak out. He doesn't, his eyes don't widen up like saucers. He just handles it differently. And Shane, you can almost tell almost immediately when something, like when he struck out during the bachelor party, right? He was like throwing the bat around and stuff like
Yeah.
that. If Sal would have struck out, I would imagine that he would have just been like,
Yeah,
what are
he
you going
probably
to
would
do?
have laughed and been
Yeah.
like, well, I've
Yeah,
never
just-
played. It's fine.
And he would have probably handed the bat back to them instead
Yeah.
of chunking it right in the air because you wouldn't do
Yeah.
it. And again, I'm not saying that the way you handle things is there's a right way and a wrong way, but it's just very evident. As soon as something's wrong, you know it almost
Yeah.
immediately. So
Well, it's the same thing you do when you start a new relationship with someone. Let's say that before you first fight, before all of that, let's say something else happens
right.
and they react maybe like Shane did. You know that's foreshadowing. You
Well,
know that, like, let's say that you were dating a girl and you did take her to the batting cages, and let's say she had an episode like Shane did. You would know, like, our first fight, you're probably gonna.
yeah, yeah. If somebody were to react like that, and I've done that. I've been in relationships, and at the beginning during the honeymoon stage, it's wonderful and it's fantastic. But that's why they say you're supposed to do things with your partner
Yeah.
that are challenging.
Right.
Like let's say like rafting or something where it requires you to cooperate with one another.
Yeah.
Because that's going to tell you, that's a better indicator than just whether or not you feel butterflies in your stomach.
Right. You go to the movies and everything's fine.
Right. There's no challenge there. But if you're like, again, let's say you're doing an activity or it's some sort of sporting event or whatever, where it requires you to do teamwork, you'll find out really fast.
Well, it's the same thing if there's like a tragedy. Let's say you meet someone,
Yeah.
It's going to bond you. You're going to have that. It's totally different, or even during COVID, let's say that there was two people that got together right before it hit.
Yeah.
And or maybe just moved in or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you're dealing with this really difficult time together. It could, well, I guess it could work both ways, but like it could bring you totally closer together. And like we survived this, or when, we live in Texas, so we had snowvid. When was that? 2021. And the
like
whole
that.
state was like in a state of emergency. But like, if you were huddled in the dark, you had no electricity, you're freezing, you're having to go to the bathroom out in the backyard, like, that's going to bond you.
Look, and here's the thing, right? It's a stress test, if you will, a fire drill, if you will, right? You almost do have to test your relationship to a certain point because it's really easy to be in a loving relationship when everything is going well for you, right?
Right.
You both have wonderful careers, everything's paid up, everybody's alive, nobody has any chronic illness. It's easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's the most wonderful time in the world. Like, what are you talking about? Marriage is easy. But the moment that there's a tragedy or unexpected events that come up, that's when you get tested, right? And if you don't have a stress test before then, you might not know how they'll react.
Right.
Because especially like, let's say a death, an unexpected death, or even, something that you might see coming, it'll either bring y'all together or it's going to drive you apart.
Yeah.
Because you'll either be fighting and arguing. And this is not just, couples, but just everybody in the family.
Yeah.
Like it really tests you. And at that point, it's when you have to be the strongest, right? Because it's like whatever dirty or grievances that you had, let's say, they don't mean anything. At this point, this is not the time to go do
Right.
that. So, and it's hard because your emotions are high and you're trying to get through it together, but you just don't have that. And I think arguments are kind of a stress test.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with like, and I'm not saying that just because you date for long periods of time before you get married, it means it's going to work.
Yeah.
But the people who get married really fast before you have any of that, because there's going to be things, job's going to be hard. You may lose a parent or whatever.
Lose your job, yeah.
Right. Exactly. But if you don't have any of those things and it's like, I love you, and 3 months later we're married, you better be careful because when that first thing does happen,
yeah. And
now you're married.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
You can't get out as easily.
No, you cannot. Not unscathed, anyways. That's for sure. It's gonna cost the grip. But with that, the other part, and this was interesting. I found this to be super duper interesting. So Natalie says something along the lines of she started comparing Shane to her dad, which I thought was a little bit I had mixed feelings. So let's just start out by saying she compared him to her dad and saying that her dad always made her feel safe and
Mm-hmm.
secure and like she was number one and a priority
Yeah.
in his life. Now, I don't know how I feel about that.
It is hard because in the previous episodes, we saw Natalie's relationship with her father, and he's obviously very loving.
Yeah. He looks
And
like a great guy, by the way.
yeah, but when you're comparing it to the tippy top, it's hard. How are you going to be as great? You know,
Well, and here's my only, if I'm playing devil's advocate, which I love to do. But if a man said that, if a man said, I'm not marrying this woman because she doesn't treat me like my mom, put me up on a pedestal and love me and all that, how much of a backlash would he get if they were to say that? Because the woman would be like, I'm not your mother. I'm not going to treat you like my mother. You shouldn't expect that from me because I'm not your mother.
yes, but with Natalie's situation, I can understand because, and she did reveal when they were talking that he said something to the effect of, I hate you and you're the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So if he hadn't have said
What
something,
was the context?
but I mean, like,
Sorry, I laugh, but that's,
I don't think she was comparing him before that. I think that that was such a huge thing that she's like, this guy doesn't, he doesn't really care for me.
yeah.
And so I don't think that she was comparing Shane to her dad prior to that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but again, just making that comparison, that's going to be hard
Yeah.
because your father is your father, and maybe that's the way it should be, right? Because in one of the other ones that we're going to talk about, when they give him away, I think it was Ayanna and Jared. The father is like, who gives this woman to this man or whatever, however
Mm-hmm.
the saying goes, and it's usually the father, and he's like, I'm the father, and then he even says, you better take care of her. So I don't know if that's the implication in that ceremony, right? To say, okay, she was under my wing. She has my name now. She's about to be under yours. She's about to take your name. You better take care of her the same way.
But isn't comparing the guy to the dad the same as like comparing them to an ex? What if like the ex before treated her really well and she's like, well, you're not like my ex. You're not as good
Well,
as my.
that's what I'm saying. It's hard.
Right.
Because that's what I'm saying. That if a guy were to say, hey, I want you to treat me the same way that my mom treated
Right.
me,
You can't.
everybody'd be like, no, I'm
Right.
sorry. Because here's the thing. Your mom's going to love you unconditionally.
Right.
Your mom's just going to love you.
It's
There's
not the
nothing that
same.
you can do. And the thing about it is you can even treat your mother badly. I'm not saying
You
you
could kill
should.
someone, she'll still visit you in
That's what I'm
jail.
saying. But like, let's say you neglect your mom, you don't go visit her, you don't do this, you don't do
Yeah.
that. She's still gonna love you,
I don't
no
think
matter
it's
what. She's still
fair to
gonna love you.
compare anyone to anyone. You can talk about like the morals. If you want to marry someone that has the same core morals as
Yeah.
your parent, cool.
Yeah.
But to say like, yeah, I want to marry someone who, that's not
It
fair.
was rough because I was like, oh, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a guy like out there, but I mean,
And Shane and her dad couldn't be any more opposite of each other.
new. Now I will say this, and then back to the whether or not she knew. I remember because sometimes I watch the show twice. The first time I like to watch it just for pleasure and just enjoying everything and like can't
Second
believe
time's
that.
for
Yeah,
research.
yeah. Second time I got to make my notes so that we could talk about it. But I was looking at it, and the second time I watched it, I saw Natalie's mom, and she gave Shane's mom a look. She wasn't happy, and I thought to myself,
She knew.
she knows.
Yeah.
She's not smiling. She had a skull on her
She
face.
did.
And I was like, your daughter's about to get married, or is she?
She was probably pretty pissed off at Shane.
I mean, something. I don't know. But she had a look on her face. She was the only one in that room that didn't look happy at all. Like she just looked like, I do not want to be here.
Yeah, because Shane's mom looked shocked, which means that he did not admit to his mother what he said the night before.
Well, no, he did. Shane.
He's not going to.
Shane, well, oh, gosh. Here's the thing about Shane, right? And I'm not saying this is good, bad, or whatever. He does seem to, again, just worry too much what people think about him.
Yeah.
But I think I will say this, right? And I don't mean to critique him. I think it's for the right reasons. In other words, I think he wants to be better. I think there's some things that he wish he could do better and that he's trying to improve on. And I think maybe that's the drive by it, of caring. Because I've done that too. especially with my friends, if I'm doing something or if I'm acting a certain way, I might ask you, hey, what do you think? Like, am I wrong? Am I right? But I usually only do that with people that I trust and admire and like respect. I don't really, in general, care about the everybody else because what they think about me is not really that important because most of them I'm not ever going to see.
Yeah.
But my friends and family, I want you guys to correct me if I'm misbehaving or I'm doing something wrong. I need you to give me that feedback.
Right.
Which, by the way, you should write in. Here's the thing.com. Here's the thing 214 @gmail.com. But no, I mean, seriously, that's the only way you get better is you have to get some feedback. And
Yeah.
the faster you get feedback, the faster you can correct that behavior.
So do you think no one in Shane's life is telling him, bro?
I think the people that care about him probably do not because it is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
He takes it to heart. You can tell as soon as something happens, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. You know when that dude's happy and you know when he's sad, you know when he's upset.
Yeah.
Like there's no hiding it with that guy.
Yeah.
Like you see it almost immediately where what somebody like, let's say, Sal, which is way more dangerous. He seems to be able to mask it, right? Or at least process it internally without showing it to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And then he'll usually come back and say, because he's done that with Mallory a couple of times when he thought that they had the conversation and then Mallory thought it was over and done with. And then he comes back and he's like, no, I got a little bit more that I need to talk about. Right. But the nice thing about him is that he picks and chooses when his battles. Right. So he'll, instead of in the moment, it's almost like he processes it a little bit and gets his thoughts together. And then when he has that conversation with them, he has all his, let's say, talking points and things that he wants to get out.
Yeah.
Which is a magnificent way of doing it. Rather than, because I get Shane, because Shane was saying that I felt that way at the time, but then he was like, I don't feel like that all the time, but I felt that way at the time. And that's what got him in trouble. Because there's many times when and parents know this. Your kids do something and you just want to strangle them and you want to curse them out and say, how cuckoo are you? But you don't. You have to control yourself and be like, okay, take a breather. Yeah. And then because if you don't, you're going to say something that you don't mean.
Right.
Because it is driven by emotion. And it's better to just hang loose for a little bit, just wait, process it, and then come back when you can speak intelligently or at least more calmly about it. But yeah, I think Natalie's mom knew. If I had to bet money, I would say that she knew what was gonna go down. So now the part that I didn't understand, and this took a tremendous amount of balls. Sorry, there's no other way to say it. After she told him no, and then he goes away, and then she goes out and starts talking to him and says, maybe we can continue this. And I just thought, what? You just told him no at the altar like 5 minutes ago, and now you're out there saying maybe we can keep trying? How does that work? Can you imagine if I left a woman on the altar and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't marry you, and then turn around 5 minutes later, but I still want to keep doing this
in
with
real
you?
life? No. In this experiment where they only have a few weeks, I understand what she's saying. She's saying she still
She doesn't want to buy the cow. She wants
she cares about Shane, but they need more time to date. It's too fast. It's really fast.
Do you think, let me ask you this. Do you think that like how much time do you need before you know, like no, that this is the person? What would be, let's say for you, for instance, what would be a good time to know? Or, does it depend on the person? Does it depend on you have to see more or you need to see different
I would
scenarios?
need to see those bad times. That's what I would need to see. Because I need to know how they process bad things or how we process it as a couple. Does it make us stronger? Does it make us weaker? Those are the things. Because I mean, like we said before, it's like, yeah, you can have fun all day long and go out and have dinner and whatever. But until you see some ugliness, how do you know?
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. If you don't see enough ugliness, right? Let's say you've been dating a year and maybe one bad thing happened. That still wouldn't be enough. Because the thing about it is, if you see it more and more,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see how they react to it. Because let's just say, for the sake of argument, right? Let's say you're dating somebody, and all of a sudden it's for the whole year things have been good, and then all of a sudden something bad happens, right? Whatever that is, and then he acts really, really crappy. But I know women, and they typically would be like, well, it's just the one time. And it's like, yeah, but that's an important time, right? Because I'll put it to you this way. They did an experiment about friendship. And when you're on top, everybody wants to be your friend. Rappers talk about it all the time. Fake friends and fake friends
Started
and
from the
fake
bottom,
friends.
now we're
Yeah.
here.
All of them talk about it, right? And it's like my day one and all this. And I get it because they're saying, like, yeah, I'm on top. So everybody wants to be my friend,
Right.
quote unquote, right? But it's like, and that's why they get upset, because they're like, when I was out there hustling, trying to make it, nobody would give me the time of day. Nobody was helping me. I didn't have any friends then. But of course, now that I'm rich and famous, I got them all over the place. And so for people like that, especially if they made it, you're never going to know now. So
Well, it's like the
you're
same
done.
thing with friendships, though, because if you make a new friend, and let's say you're friends for however long, and then they start going through some bad things, right? And you're having to be there for them. But let's say it keeps, and then you're just more of like someone to console them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. How long do you have to be friends before you'll stick around till forever? Or is it like, let's say if you met someone and you were friends for 2 months and then they started going through a bunch of stuff and it was really taxing on you, you may be like, well, we've only been friends for 2 months, so I'm sorry that you're dealing with this, but I gotta go. Like,
Wow.
I'm just saying, but isn't that the same
Yeah,
thing?
it's exactly the same thing.
So,
yeah.
like, when you're friends with someone, you start going through bad things, you're going to, most of the time, I would say it would bring you closer. Like, we got through this.
Yeah.
Maybe you and your friend have a fight, or they're going through something and you're there for them and they're so appreciative. And then they return the favor. When
Yeah.
you go through something, you're going to have more love, more respect.
I think in the experiment, what they did was they had the list of friends for that person, and they made them call them like at 3 o'clock in the
Oh,
morning.
right. Who would come pick you up? Or
Yeah,
whatever.
and they're like, "Hey, I'm in jail. I need $300, or not in jail, but it's something like I need $300, and I need you to pick me up like right now." And then there were some people that are like, "Man, I can't do that. Call somebody
There's some
else."
friends I probably wouldn't do that for.
It's some other ones were like, "Yeah, where you at? I'll go pick you up." And then it's like, psych. You passed the test,
I'm gonna
buddy.
try it on you
You
one night.
passed the test.
I'm gonna call you at 3 a.m.
Just make sure I'm awake, because, man, I'll get up, but it's going to take me a minute. It's like, what did she get herself into now? $300? Was she gambling or what? What is she? Oh, goodness gracious. But yeah, and then, just lastly on when it came to Natalie and Shane, she did, and I quote, say something that really made me think. But she said, love could only go so far.
Why is that funny?
Because I just, and don't get me wrong, because we could do like 20 hours to try to explain what love is, right? I think there's different versions of love. I think there are things that they mistake for love. I don't know exactly what it is. What I do know is there's certain versions of love transcend even death. And I'm not a big hokey person or whatever, but you can still love somebody even after they're dead, right? Which is somewhat illogical because they're not there anymore.
Right.
Like in some people, they'll never marry anybody else because they were in love with that one person and that was their only one. And they're perfectly content from there on in living the rest of their lives by themselves because that was their only love, right? So it's they have no obligation to them anymore. But that's how powerful love is. And even at that point, I've been angry, and I mean furious at times. And it was love that brought me back to that calm place.
Yeah.
To the point where I didn't do anything stupid, where I didn't. So it's a powerful thing as far as I'm concerned. Now, again, depends on what you mean by love. Because if you're saying that, now maybe what she meant by that was, even though I love him, he's not good for me.
Yeah.
That I would understand. Because in that case, the love for herself is trumping her love for another human being, which is really the only way you can do that.
Yeah.
Because if you love somebody else more than you love yourself, I know you know, and people say that, oh, it's about my kids, and I get all that. But, and I always say this, right? If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't have self-love, you're not going to be any good to anybody,
Right.
not even your kids. If you're miserable because you're everything that you do is for somebody else, you're it's just not going to be, it's not going to work out well for you. You have to love, which is why Dipty's answer was so much more resounding after I heard that, because she was like, I choose myself.
Yeah.
And in reality, everybody should be choosing themselves.
Right.
You're just choosing to share your life with this other person,
Right.
knowing that they also love themselves and you. Because you, and I know that sounds cheesy, but you can't love anybody else until you love yourself first.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
You have to do it. You just absolutely have to do it. So, anyways, when she said that, it just made me think for a little bit, like, I wonder exactly what she meant, but that's what she said.
I think that I'm not saying Shane is a bad person, but I think she knows that
He's a bad person. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. You set that up. You were too long of a pause. I'm sorry. Sorry, I just like say it. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
I think that she knew he was toxic for her. There was a lot of toxic type relationship stuff that he was doing already that he just needs to grow. He has some things he needs to work through, but
yeah, and maybe they just weren't a good fit for one another. Honestly, I think, I didn't see it. I couldn't see it even from the get go.
Him and Shayna, yes. Shane and Shayna, I think.
Shane and Shayna would be a train wreck. It's a slow moving train wreck, but you know it's gonna wreck. Just like there's no long term. Oh man, I would bet against it. I would if I had to bet my house. I would say those two. There's no way that they would be able to maintain a long term. And I hate to be that way, but just based on their personalities,
Yeah.
they.
I think they're perfect for each other.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, yes. I think that'd be fantastic. But marriage, I don't know. Just being married before, I know what it's like. And it's, goodness gracious. But anyways, so then we go over to Sal and Mallory. And of course, they're both sharing their feelings and, they're all, they get asked this question. I don't know why. I think one of Mallory's friends asked her something like, I think it was her sister, that one lady, I can't remember her name is, but when they went out to dinner. Anyways, she says something like, can you see yourself long-term with him? And she was like, sure.
I guess.
Something like that, but it's just like, and we talked about this in the last one about imagination in the future and imagining your future. And I think if you're not careful, that's a dangerous proposition, right? Because when you start imagining the future and you paint this picture, it can be and it can become as real as this table that we're talking on. It's a real thing. Your mind can't differentiate between quote unquote real and non-real.
Right.
Your mind makes it real. So, for instance, when you're having a nightmare, right?
Yeah, you wake up and...
yeah, you're sweating and it's like, you're in bed.
Yeah.
Why are you sweating?
And you're still trying to convince yourself it was just a dream.
Yes. And you're absolutely right. You're like, was that a dream? Like, oh my goodness, like it felt so real.
Did it happen and I just blacked out and now I'm like...
Right? Like, what is happening? But, and I've had some pretty weird dreams of my own, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the future or your imagination, you have to be very, very careful about that. Because it is a very powerful, powerful thing. And if you're not careful, it can run away with you.
Yeah.
And if it runs away with you, it's hard to bring that back into reality. Because reality, and you've gotten on to me before because I like to watch rom-coms. I love to watch those movies. And I did have an idea of what I thought love was going to be. And I still think that there's I'm still idealistic to a certain point about love and how love can be. I'm not saying I've been married, so I know what it's like day to day. That's not to say that you can't have special occasions and do these wonderful, glorious things that what Sal does. I'm just not going to do that every week. We're going to go out, we're going to have fun, but I don't know that it would be hard to try to, I think if you do that too much, I think what happens is they would take you for granted. And then B, you would have a hard time trying to top yourself week after week after week after week, right?
Where can Sal go from here after writing her a song?
Yeah. I mean... and sometimes, honestly, I think, and I could be wrong because you're a woman, you tell me, I think sometimes women just appreciate just hanging out. So it doesn't have to be this grand gesture of romance. It could be like, hey, I picked us out a movie. It's your favorite movie. I got some popcorn ready. Like, let's just hang
Some
out and
people, I
watch
mean, it
it.
depends on how high maintenance you are, or, if you have way higher expectations. But I think maybe for the majority of women, yeah, I mean, just something as sweet as that. Like him, well, I guess not anymore, but back in the day, you'd go to Blockbuster and you pick up a movie that you think she would like,
Yeah,
not like a Die
yeah,
Hard, but like something she would
absolutely.
like. Yeah, it would be
Especially if you
sweet.
know her, right? You know what
Right,
her favorite movie is, or you know what she likes. Like doing something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be a grand gesture, but just
right.
something to let her know you care.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that goes a long way too. The big grand gestures are great too. But so so anyways, they go to the altar, same thing, they do the little speech, blah blah blah. And so they ask Sal, do you take this woman to be your wife? And I don't know why they alternate like that, but
Because I think it tries to keep us guessing,
I guess
like who's
so.
going to say
But
yes or
but because
whatever.
in the other one, obviously they asked Natalie first, and then they asked Dipti first, and then in this one they're asking Sal first.
I don't know for sure, but I feel like the producers, they make that person tell them what they're going to say. They have to, because you know what I mean?
I don't know. I think they flip a coin and they say, "Okay,
I
you're
don't
gonna
know. I'm
go."
gonna try to research it, but
Yeah, I think so.
I think that a lot of them, or not a lot of them, it seemed like some of them had said, "Well, I was gonna decide as soon as I got up there." I
Yeah,
don't buy that. I
yeah.
think they are. There's no way. I think Sal said that, and maybe even Natalie. I'm
Mhm.
not sure, but it's like, no, you know what you're gonna say.
They had two speeches ready.
Exactly.
One
Exactly.
speech, or if I do, one speech. I don't know. I mean, it is. And at first, I felt a certain kind of ways, like, okay, you've gone through all this, everybody showed up, and all. Now you're. At the same time, I kind of feel like, you know what? If this is your last opportunity, if you are not ready to go forward in this marriage, this is the last, right?
Yeah.
And I say that because a lot of times people get married and then they're like, I never should have got married. It's like, well, it's too late for that. Like you're in it, right?
Yeah.
You've already made that commitment. Now, depending on the circumstances, and I'm not saying that, that divorce isn't sometimes necessary. I'm just saying, like, okay, you need to at least give it your best shot because you've made this commitment
Right.
and you've had plenty of opportunities to back out, not least of which when the
Yeah.
when the reverend or whomever is asking you to whether or not you take this person. But so, anyways, Sal goes in there and he says that he cannot.
Mm.
Um, then he starts crying and all teary and stuff. And honestly, this one I felt it was genuine because Mallory wipes his tears away, and she just got rejected, right? And there's no other way to put it, right? She's just been left at the altar, and she's wiping around this dude's tears. So now with that, I started thinking about, and again, the editing part, how he chased her so much,
Mm.
even from the get go. He was just chasing her. And then when they met, she was like, I don't feel that attraction to him, and this, that, and the other. And then he would do all these just grand gestures of romance and sing for her and do all these things. And he chased her so much. And then at the last minute was like, I can't.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I mean, the night before at the bachelor party, he seemed in good spirits. Maybe he already knew and was just doing like a typical thing where you're trying to hide, that you're whatever. But like,
So you don't think he was conflicted?
I wonder if something happened like right up to the
He
end.
met a
Like,
waitress. Mallory, who?
I don't know,
I'm
he sang
kidding.
to the
I'm kidding.
waitress or I don't know. It's weird because you're right. I don't know why.
It threw me off.
Yeah, I
Now,
did not expect that.
and again, my theory was, and this is still kind of my theory, right? Throughout the way that the show was presented, the men had to do quite a bit
Yeah,
to win over the women,
yeah,
not least of which constantly reassuring them. And he was doing that too, right? Because there was a couple times when, she didn't like his ex-girlfriend showing up and she's like, if anything like this happens again, I'm out. And
yeah.
she really made him work for it.
Yeah, she had the inappropriate conversation with Jared in
Well, man,
Mexico.
let's not
But
get
yeah,
started
she
on
was
that,
just, I don't know.
And then, in the end, he's the one that gets out. And I'm sure he has his reasons, not least of which some of the ones that we already kind of pointed out.
Mhm.
And maybe that was it. But what was funny is in that, they went away, they did their talk, and they came back. And he's sitting there in the where they had the reception or the wedding, And she comes up and starts talking to him. And it was weird because she basically asked him, do you want to keep going?
But I think in all
She got
fairness,
left on the altar and still wants to keep pursuing this man. I just thought, okay, sure.
but I think he had said something right before that to kind of allude to the fact of, I think it was something like, maybe we can try to continue this. And I think she was clarifying, continue a friendship, or do you want to date?
That's what he was asking, yeah.
Right. But I think he knew that he doesn't want to continue on. I think he said that to be nice. It's the same thing when you go on a date and you at the end of the night, you're like, I'll call you tomorrow. So, and then you never call.
Wait a minute, what? I lost your number. I don't know. It happens. What are you gonna do? Yeah, when you do that with people that you meet on vacation. Like, yo, call me up, man. We'll do it. Sure, yeah, why not? You don't mean it. But you do that with casual people. You don't do that with people. But it was interesting because at that point, she had already fell for him.
Yeah.
He worked really hard to get her. I think, and it's always dangerous whenever you do that, because if it's not reciprocated, don't be amazed. Like, yes, you are the prize, and yes, we're supposed to do and bend over backwards. But now we've done all this, and you're not really appreciating it or whatever, you can feel some kind of way about it, resentful, and be like, I'm doing all this, and like, shouldn't I get some of it back? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be treated to a nice dinner from time to time too. You don't have to sing to me.
I
or
didn't
anything.
see her do one thing throughout the entire season.
Now, but they all live together, so now they have to go back, right? And like go their separate ways. I didn't even, think about that, but I guess that's an awkward thing.
She probably had her sister, who was already pissed off, go get her things.
Maybe so. But nevertheless, and so the next one after that is Jarrett and Ayanna, and I knew I was like, this is just me. I was like, they have to leave on a good ending.
Yeah,
they can't just leave it on that.
Yeah.
So of course they have a really, really wonderful wedding. Everybody shows up. His father is presiding over the ceremony and everything, and they both say I do. They seem genuinely in love. They start dancing. They jump the broom together, which is symbolic. I don't know where that came from, but I've always heard jump the broom, and I'm assuming.
I think it's from like slavery time. It has something to do with that.
Yeah, but I'm wondering why a broom. I just don't know, because I know why witches and brooms are considered together, because a broom, I just can't figure out why the broom, but maybe there's I'll find out. I'll Google it and see if I find out why the broom. But it's symbolic, and like in the Jewish tradition, they do the whole glass and they crush it and then
put them on the
tov.
chair and then
But the muzzle tov thing, and like again, I don't know enough about it, so I'm very naive about that. But it seems pretty cool, Like I like when there's traditions that I'm not aware of, and I'm always curious, like, where did that come from? Because I'm sure it has origins and it's part of their culture, but I'm just curious to know exactly. And that one, I think, is an American tradition. So, I always like American traditions because it's American. I'm a patriot. I love it. But yeah, they got married and that's how they left the show.
Yeah.
So
showing them all happy. And so I'm trying to remember last season. I think there was 2 couples as well that got married. So maybe it's
been such a long time. I don't even remember.
2 for 2. Yeah.
I don't remember last season. Believe it or not, I need to rewatch it. And so I feel bad. I feel really, really bad. But, so some worked, some didn't. Yeah. I believe they had a reunion, and we'll be talking about that too. Yeah. But really good conversation, again, just to plug our show again. It's Here's the Thing. 214@gmail.com is our email address. Reach out. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn. Give us feedback, subscribe, tell a friend. Yes. Anything you do to help a brother and sister out. We love it. We love the feedback, and we want to get better. But yeah, it was a good conversation.
Yeah, this has been a fun roller coaster ride that we've been on, and I'm excited for the reunion. And so stay tuned for that.
We'll see how it goes. All right, until next time.
Bye.
All right, bye.